I only listened to Car Talk a few times. I never found it that great. I know that's is that a controversial take? I
Well,
was like,
sometimes when you're trapped in the car, you gotta
sure.
listen to
Like if
Car
there was
Talk.
nothing else before there was podcasts and you wanted to hear some kind of nonsense, fun conversation, that's all you had. But now, CarPlay and podcast, you can dial up your own nonsense.
So I paid for the Overcast. So
Oh, now you're part of the solution.
I figured I should help a struggling developer out.
I think it's worth it. I feel like I've gotten my my money out of over the Overcast.
Well, it's a subscription.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I get the.
I don't really get any. What am I getting out of it? That's what I don't get.
Okay,
They take ads out, I think.
Which ads?
No, that definitely does not happen in Overcast. It doesn't automatically.
No. Like there used to be little text ads.
True.
Like
Yeah. You don't see the ads at the bottom. You get access to. You can upload your own podcasts, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Which is cool if you're editing and stuff, and you want to test it out before you want to hear it. So that's actually pretty. I find that actually pretty convenient.
Well, I've got some cloud native AF stickers that are priced to move. So.
Heyo.
Okay. So I don't know. Those are the. I'm trying to think what else. Other thing, lights. That may just be the only thing I really use, but I like it. I do. I think it's good.
Yeah. I figured. Well, I use this. 2 hours, 3 hours a day. I might as well give them something.
I think the smart speed feature is fantastic.
Is much better than the one I had before.
And
now I understand how you can listen to stuff at like 2x or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's so much better. The one I had before was just like faster, and this one,
somehow he figured out. I guess Marco Arman, he figured out how to not make everyone sound like like a squealing. I don't know. It works really well. And then
it's much better.
The other thing too is it just takes out pauses, even without smart speed. It just that's another good one.
Yeah, it gives you that counter of how much time it saves.
Yeah, I love that. I always use that as a great example of proving ROI. It's like, look at this. You can just look down and be like, hey, why doesn't every piece of software do it? So I don't know. So I guess that's our ad for.
Because now when I'm in the car with the kids, I can actually run it fast and they don't notice it. Before they were like, this is annoying. They're all And I couldn't really get past 1.3, 1.4 with the old one. Now I'm like 1.5 and it's just fine.
So you're like, so now we can listen to the tale of 3 unsolved murders on our trip instead of just one.
I'm more like 99% invisible, and that's how this building came to look like that, or esoteric political history, or
That's good. Just like okay. I can't even think of the famous 1932 coup in Uruguay.
Exactly. Well,
it was
US
crazy
political history. There's turns out most of it's just racism.
Hey,
wow. The default in that whole I think 1.2 I think is the absolute minimum I can listen to. I don't know. Now I feel like it goes the opposite. Once you get used to it, you listen at regular speed, it's I don't know. It's just too slow, right?
Too slow.
I'll tell you the other thing. I wish it was. I've done it maybe a little bit, but if you have a recorded meeting, you can if it's an MPEG-4, you strip the audio using QuickTime, and then throw it in upload it to Overcast, double speed it, and you can listen to the entire your entire install in 20 minutes. It's
VLC has that for video playback.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's
how I watch recorded meetings.
Yeah, so recorded meetings
1.5.
It's even better if you just strip the audio and you put it on Overcast, because then you can just don't even have to you don't feel like you need the slides, right? Or you can just I don't know. I do that a lot too. So.
Yeah, and then you get all the features of the Overcast that VLC doesn't have.
There you go. There you have it.
Are we broadcasting?
We are. We're live, man. We're ready.
It doesn't. It does say there. Oh,
I hope we are.
Well, good thing I didn't make a bad joke then. Jeez.
Yeah,
been horrible. Keep the jokes good. Would have been off topic.
Off color, off topic. Hands on a hard body on MailChimp. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so let's see. We got
Kubernetes, huh?
Did we all watch the movie?
Yeah.
And then we have
the gist of it.
We got the Akamai's buying Linode.
That's weird. I didn't really read about that. I just saw that, and then I thought about it, and I was like, "That's weird."
That should be the entire segment.
Twilio revenue blows past estimates.
That's because I signed up.
Cisco. Okay. All right. So still lots of acquisitions going on. All right. That sounds good.
Well, I kind of grouped those together because I think it is kind of interesting. If you want, the topic I was saying is to sort of like, hey, what if someone just thinks about infrastructure as a service, right? And obviously Akamai did it, and these other tools could do it. And sort of like, I don't know if we'd call it disruption, but just sort of like, hey, everyone's just doing this infrastructure as a service. What if I just did that? Not worried about all the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess now that I look at it, that is a pretty big deal for Akamai to be like, hey, we've been a CDN. Now, how about we do compute?
Well, maybe they looked at what Cloudflare.
Good content. I feel like we should hold it. Hold it for the show.
Says, I'm holding it.
No, we don't want to ruin.
All right, let me just tweet out.
Tweet it.
SDT podcast. We are recording live. Oh, we should hook up LinkedIn at some point, Brandon. Wouldn't that be great?
I don't know. I feel like that may be too close to home. Like, I don't know. That may be. It's
like too close to the business.
By the
business is heating me up.
I don't know. I just don't know if this is LinkedIn. It's like, I don't know.
Might as well try.
Maybe we should take a poll. It's like,
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, let's have the dedicated streamers tell us, should we be streaming this also to LinkedIn? Because I found out that we have access, as I do, to stream in LinkedIn. I had a little LinkedIn streaming about 4 ways to do a business case. To buy stuff you want. Enterprise software, that is. We're recording Software Defined Talk live right now.
That's right. Hey, Coach, one thing I am going to promote.
Guaranteed no toilets.
And if you want to... I created a...
the challenge accepted. Toilets.
I did create a sign-up form, so I was going to anyone who wants to be invited to future, I don't know, virtual or in live meetups. I'm going to highlight that in the administration section. So
okay,
figured we'd get some names, see if anyone has any interest.
See, that's what we need to have. We need to have the Software Defined Talk LinkedIn business session, business growth league. We can get a better title.
Yep, people are definitely not going to be attending that. I think
we'll call it business growth time.
I like business growth league.
I feel like that's not going to be.
And we're all going to get relegated.
Business growth club.
I feel like LinkedIn is not our platform for whatever reason, but maybe
no, Brandon. We can talk about. We can do our marketing exegesis stuff. It would be perfect. Like, it's full of that kind of stuff.
It's like at least I'll speak for myself. Like this. I got to have a certain amount of snark and reality. And I just feel like that's not LinkedIn, right? Everybody's so excited at LinkedIn about joining their new companies and growing their careers. It's too much. It's like, that's why I try to just be like, the stuff I put out there is like, here's the highlights here's a podcast you can listen to.
And anybody who kind of strays off the path of business talk, they're like, hey, my daughter got accepted to this college. People are like, that's not business.
I know, it's just like,
I'm getting married, and they're like, "Are you telling that because you're gonna take?"
I want to respect the vibe. Like, LinkedIn requires a very happy vibe. I think it's just a very, very
I'm sure
everything is great vibe, and it's like I don't know, and it's.
If you went to look up Professor Galloway, I'm sure he put some stuff in LinkedIn. It probably gets 8 gazillion views.
True.
And I'm telling you, we should start. Okay, we can drop this after this because we got a show to do. But we could even revisit. It could be exegesis revisited. And we can kind of do the same topics, and we'll plan out some events, and we'll just be like, here's how to write a press release if you're selling enterprise software. Because as far as I can tell, that's the only people who are in LinkedIn. and so I think they'll dig it.
All right, maybe we should. I had a whole thing on Harvey balls going. Man, there's a Harvey ball chart. Sometimes I do feel like I just need a full on.
You need to target that. Either you make a Google short, which is 60 seconds in portrait mode, or you need to do a TikTok thing about Harvey balls. I mean, honestly, if you're going to put in the time, put it in both.
Put it in both
and see what happens. But I think Harvey. I'm going to put that as a topic.
It was just a good Harvey ball. I mean, that whole set. I mean, it was good. Dan put it in there. It was just a lot. It was just a perfect Harvey ball. I don't know that's slot of the year, but that's definitely Harvey ball chart of the year. It's just quintessential perfectness.
Yeah, I love some Harvey balls. I haven't seen them in a while. It's just
people have been doing.
What are you gonna do?
I'll just tease it. Like, people have gone to the gradients, right? It used to just be the four white or the grade. Now people are doing gradients. I'm like, oh, this is just Cote, to use my phrase, it's the chef kiss.
Yes.
of Harvey Balls. So.
I keep forgetting this. I don't know how to keep track of these kind of ideas that occur to me or to one, but like I want to get a style pack for charts that's like that old like 90s style before you could have color. And so it'll be like the blank and then the diagonal lines and then the
and like
dots.
the crosshatch. And,
Yeah. I need some kind of kit that
kind
like
of retro. Be kind of like yeah. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I need a kit that you can do like that kind of slide because we started. Well, I shouldn't say we started, but like I've been talking with some of my coworkers and they want to use Reveal JS. Do your slides in Markdown. Which
gosh.
I've always dismissed that, but I was seeing how you
can
can
do some cool stuff.
how you can
People
structure
like it.
stuff makes a lot of sense for like anyways. But then I was thinking like if I do that, you can't really style anything, but I could make charts that are like those retro charts. And then if I use the right kind of fonts, I think it'll be a thing. Like that would work out. But I got to find out how to do that because I don't think Google Sheets or I don't know, maybe PowerPoint does have that. I'll have to find that out. Yes, maybe OmniGraffle. OmniGraffle.
OmniGraffle's the best.
I feel like this is adjacent to the defaults lifestyle. I think there's an Omni lifestyle where like if you can figure out the need to weekly, if not daily, use an Omni group tool, then you're probably living the right kind of life.
out.
You know
I'm
what
out.
though? You know what? They're probably using Overcast for podcasts.
Definitely. All right, Cote, get us started because otherwise we're gonna run out of time.
All right. That sounds good. Well, my son had his birthday party. Now, his birthday was on Tuesday, but he had his party this past weekend. And we got a bunch of sodas. And one of his friends likes Sprite. So I'm enjoying a Sprite right now. It says lemon lime, no sugar. And now, has Sprite always had no sugar, or is this a no sugar Sprite?
That's a no sugar Sprite.
Definitely. No caffeine has been Sprite's thing at the beginning.
Oh,
Right
well,
now-
good thing I'm drinking that now at night.
You know what they don't have in Australia? Diet Coke.
Hey, really? Do they have the Coke
sugar-free
Zero?
Coke.
Sugar-free
No, they have
Coke.
sugar-free Coke.
Huh.
Which
Is it the
instead
same
of-
formula or is it a different formula? Oh,
different.
wow.
They-
wow. This
they
is
don't have,
wow. Right away with
aspartame
some
here.
serious controversy. Australia's getting the wrong Diet Coke.
They don't have NutraSweet here.
At
So
all?
everything's
like it's
like
against the
stevia.
law?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it never got FDA.
Is it now? You covered this last week.
Or I've
Is
never
this-
seen it.
Is this
Yeah.
related to anal leakage, Matt Ray?
that was the Olestra, the
Oh, yes.
fat replacement, which I think they took off the market after not explosive sales, but
Hey,
that's our chance to talk about toilets.
They were, yeah, that's true. Okay, no toilet guarantee has been busted. Although there's a little meta there. It hasn't naturally come up. We're close. We're close
so
to
can
the
I
toilet.
bring a Diet
I pushed
Coke into Australia?
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
Is that
Or you're gonna have to make a video like Johnny Depp. It is important to
sorry.
respect.
But the best thing about Johnny Depp's video is he did it in the Pirates of the Caribbean voice.
Yeah.
I'm amazed though. So the entire continent has no Diet Coke. Wow.
No, it's just sugar-free Coke. I mean, it's or Coke Zero. Yeah, it's just they don't have
Right, it's just a
NutraSweet
different
here.
version, but just
Yeah, it's just a different
that's probably
formulation.
good,
And
actually.
it
I
uses
think,
stevia, which I don't care for that one either. So
okay, well, I'd actually prefer it because when I drink Diet Coke, I always drink too much, so then I have to just stop completely. So it'd be great
Yeah.
if we just didn't have it here either. I actually be helpful for me. Then I would just not drink it because it's so bad.
Huh.
But-
So
Anyway,
you
Sprite
uncontrollably
Zero.
drink a lot of Diet Coke?
I do find that I like if I start to drink it, I start to like kind of get the like whatever. I guess just some form of like low level addiction where I just find it, I crave it more, and I just find like it's better just to not drink it, drink iced tea or something else that
I
doesn't,
miss iced tea.
just something that's like I don't know, it's quote unquote a little better for you. But more importantly, Cote, did you have Diet Coke at your son's birthday? Seems like a bad parenting move, but I guess maybe.
Well, we always buy Coke Zero. We don't actually. Every now and then, just through some happenstance, we'll have some real Coke in the house. But we always get Coke Zero, and that's what the kids. I shouldn't say they've been raised on it, but that's what they've always drank. That's what they've always had. So that's fine with them, which has its own weirdness. And this is making me think that the next time here in the kind of software enterprise infrastructure space that someone is complaining about like two things that do the same thing, we can be like, hey, if Coke can figure out sugar Coke, Coke Zero, Diet Coke, Coke Light, and Australian sugar-free Coke all under the same brand, like it's fine. We can have multiple container orchestrators, or we can have multiple log managers. We can have multiple tools all on the same roof doing the same thing. It'll be
We're
fine.
going to take out that stevia shim, and people are going to complain.
Yeah, clearly, if you are using some sort of cloud native technology and there's like YAML leaking out of your anus, that's no good. You just shut that down.
Wow, it's going to be an abrupt transition. I don't know.
That's why you're the pro.
I just don't know how. There may be some that cold open may get some editing. Not just
too much.
I don't know.
You
just came back to it too
conversation. We tried.
I don't know. The streamers you may have heard a streaming only segment there.
Do we need to do a better end that's cleaner? How about that?
No. I just may lift some stuff out of there. I think there's man. All right.
People really don't like the word anus. Like it's not really like a curse word, but like I think they get very uncomfortable when you say anus. Like, I mean, don't you agree?
I agree, and the name that like cracks me up every time I hear it is Angus, which is a surprisingly popular Australian name,
or Amos.
All right,
Amos
well, an impossible transition here, but I'm just gonna say, go visit our friends at Strong DM, and this may be the last episode the show has ever done. So make sure to hit it now. Get the sign up code. Get your free 14-day trial.
I guess that's true. That's quite the lead in to go into an ad. Why don't we redo it? We'll
redo from where? Diet Sprite, sugar-free Sprite?
No, it's just like you got multiple things running there, and then you can cut right before I'm like talking about leakage, right? And then what would I say? What would we say next? What would be a good thing?
Something about YAML, artificial syntax highlighters. I don't know.
Oh, here, can I take it? I'll just pause here, start, and just like try to like grab something. Like I'll try to cut from the last pause, and then you take us out with some statement, anything that you want.
Yeah. Okay. And with the Coke metaphor, that might understand. Like I was looking through a survey that depending on the country you're in, you've got all the different size cans. You got big cans in America, you got the big gulps over there, and then here in the Netherlands, you got these tiny weird cans. Like in Europe, they can't help but have strange cans. It's just like I feel like there is a collective mindset in Europe where they're like whatever size they use in America, it needs to be at least 2/3 of that size, and like it's just very consistent. Now that said, I don't know if y'all remember, but I did find there's a great store here called Action. And if you go by Action, it's full of people who are doing what do you call the optimistic scream, like the Edvard Munch scream thing. But there's everyone who's all like because it's one of those like I can't believe the prices are this low. But one time I found a rare find for the Netherlands and the internet. I think it was this bottle of Heinz ketchup. So already you're winning, right? There's only one ketchup, Heinz ketchup. The rest is just garbage. And so you got Heinz ketchup, and I think it's maybe like a 2-liter bottle of Heinz ketchup.
Whoa. They have the big ketchups and the small sodas?
And then a giant ketchup. And at the time, I think that my daughter Mila, when we found this, was maybe like 3 or 4 months old. And so what we figured out, I was like, this bottle of ketchup is so big that what we can do is we can put a diaper on it. And so we did put a diaper on it. I'll find a picture of it maybe for the show notes. And we from now on, whenever we see that, we always talk. It's the Heinz Unlimited ketchup, and we always call it Little Baby Unlimited. And I think now this brings up another issue. Now I'm no physician or physicist, but I think by nature of being bounded by a container that holds all the ketchup in, and for the lack of a black hole, the ketchup is actually not unlimited. It is indeed a limited amount of ketchup, despite it being a huge amount.
All right.
I think the anus was much funnier.
You gave Brandon a lot of editing material.
We got a lot of material there. I'll make it work. I'll make it work. Just Oh, geez. Anyway.
I got to find this bottle. It's great. There's a great picture of Cormac with it. But anyhow. All right.
Okay.
Oh, we're not doing so bad on time. At least it lives in YouTube, right, Brandon? That's
right. Lives on here for sure.
All right. Well, our assignment this week, assigned by headmaster Brandon, if I remember, but agreed on by us. So, consensus is not consensus. Consent is consent, I think. So we now are part of the assignment. Anyhow, I think, were we supposed to only watch the first part or both parts of the Kubernetes
Did you
documentary?
only watch the first half? You're not going to know how it ends.
Look, this is a rare instance. Brandon will be like, we got a new ad. Kote, can you do an ad read? And like 3 months later, I'll send him an ad read, right? But this time, I actually did the homework. I watched both of these. Okay, and I didn't even watch it in like 2x speed. I watched it in real time speed, So I got to get all the sweet speed of all those drone shots, right? And I enjoyed that quite a bit. But
I love how they had one Amazon exterior shot, and I swear to God they used it 8 times.
Well, hold on. Now I'm going to cross that off of my things to comment.
Wait, before we get, just so everybody knows what we're talking about, it was the Kubernetes, the documentary, and it is 2 parts, which I guess is maybe not immediately obvious. So, and I think the whole thing, you can watch the whole thing, I think in 45 minutes. I think each part is about 20 minutes. So, so go ahead, Kote. Please continue on. You were commenting on the drone shots, which is, of course, how the movie starts.
Yeah. I mean, the movie is very well put together. You got you got the people who are looking. Is that a 45? Who are kind of at that 30-degree angle, like looking off camera. And man, I want to talk with whoever does the lighting and the camera work, because like I would love to have pictures that crisp, the lighting done. I have no idea.
Overall, the production value of this is by far, in a way, the best production value I've ever seen. Something kind of in this, related to this, any type of tech, even like older documentaries. It's like it has excellent. God knows what they spent on it, but like it was very well done.
I mean, it's since it's a foundation, I would have to imagine it's part of a record somewhere what they spent on it, right? in the budget.
But it was also sponsored by somebody who I forget already. But so somebody paid to foot that bill too, so that could get hidden in
I see what you're saying. Yeah. And speaking of, I mean, we'll cover the technical stuff here. I mean, ironically, the technical part, but the whatever is there was it took me a moment to notice this, but it was awesome how when they did some historic film, they somehow put a filter over it to make it like look old. And not only did they put a filter over it to make it like look old and crackly, but they switched the aspect ratio from 16:9 from HD to 4:3.
Yeah.
As if it were like, as if like DockerCon 2012 occurred in like 1993.
Like, you remember in 2012 we still had CRTs and everybody was watching things on their Zunes.
Sorry, this recording's not so good. The rabbit ears weren't great when we were adjusting.
I thought it worked. I liked it because it did give a sense of like you're like kind of old and new. I was like,
I think it was awesome.
I was all in on it. I love the effect.
That was great. It was good stuff. Yeah, and I do a lot of video stuff now, and it would be exciting to see like go dive into the YouTube analytics, see what the watch duration is. Like I spend a lot of time in those analytics now, and it'd be fun to see what other things are, especially for like a 25-minute. Like I think maybe only cooking videos would get watched the full way through, or not, but it would be nice. So all right. So that part's all nice. Looking at a 30-degree angle. There must be a name for that kind of shot. And so let's start with you, Brandon. Now, I don't know what was your let's review the film from this angle. How did this film, like, did it fill in some interesting history for you and kind of like answer some questions? Like, did it kind of add to your knowledge of like, here's the deal with Kubernetes and like container management and cloud native? Like, in comparison, there are some books, many business books we've read some books on Amazon where you read it and you're like, I just read 300 pages and I don't think I've learned anything, right? Like, and so like, where does this come out on the? Does this increase the knowledge for yourself?
Yeah, no, all good questions. Well, one, I just want to say up front, like before I say anything else, like one, I highly recommend it. Everybody who's probably listening to this podcast, it's worth the watch. So definitely, 2 thumbs up for me. Definitely watch it. Now, I would sort of describe the film as sort of told from the perspective mostly of Google and Googlers and people that were, intimately familiar with creating Kubernetes. So you're getting like right off the bat, I would not say it's unbiased at all, right? It's sort of like you're getting the perspective of like, here's what people that were really thinking about Kubernetes and wanting to create it, and most of them at Google, here's what they were thinking about, and here's kind of their thought process. And it's largely told through that lens with a little bit of OpenShift sprinkled in kind of towards the end. So like the people you're like, the obvious person that's not interviewed is what Solomon Hayek, right? From Docker, right? He's not in it at all. There's only one person from Docker who in it, who I think he does a good job, but you're not getting any of that perspective, at least firsthand. You're getting some clips of some speeches. So you got to know that going in. And I don't know, I'm not going to say like, I think the film is just telling it from that perspective. So depending on, for me as an outsider, I think it's very interesting to like see that perspective. But I could definitely see people who worked at other companies having significantly different takes on how some of the things went down, right? And so if you watch it and you just sort of acknowledge the point of view you're getting like beforehand, and I don't think there's any secret or anything because they're showing the names and titles of people. So it's like, I think you just got to keep that in mind as you're watching it. It's like you're getting a very Google-centric view of where Kubernetes came from and the merits of Kubernetes.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it in that way. Like when I was going on a dog walk, it didn't really turn out to be an optimistic dog walk like last week, but I was thinking like what is my take on this thing, and I think by design, like the thing that I was looking for is for, I don't know who exactly, but for there to be less politeness in the whole thing. Like there's only a few moments that you can kind of reverse engineer to like competitive impoliteness. And the main one, and the main reverse engineering is essentially, I think it is Kelsey and Sarah. I don't know why I'm talking about them on a first name basis, who basically bring up this point of like, it was not zero sum, right? And then the implication
they say like it didn't have to be zero sum,
right?
And that's a repeated talking point, definitely from Google's perspective. That phrase comes out of different people's mouth probably 4 times. That felt like a talking point.
And then and it's there's some more chatter around this point that I'm meandering towards. And then part of that is also the discussion of like, and I think it was Kelsey again who was talking about this, how there were many other people around, and they wanted to, and this is the point of zero sum, and they wanted to take all of the pie, right?
Right.
And then there's the discussion of like, the as James Waters would put it, the value line, the stacks on stacks and controlling the customers. And I guess this is where I wanted like some, I'm going to jokingly call it being less polite, but I wanted some people to be like, so I think this would be the case, okay? So, and this is the part that I'm still looking for in the whole history of Kubernetes is like, so they start off, I realize I'm not finishing thoughts here, but like, they're like, boy, it seemed like it wouldn't happen because you had all these other competitors who were very functional running in large enterprises and were way ahead of us, right? And they keep talking about Mesos a lot, which I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention, but like I would have even thought to think of them, but whatever. Like, they were a big deal running, and they were more functional, and like so forth and so on. And so at some point, I want someone to be like, oh, well, what happened was that Docker, Mesos, probably some other people, and maybe sort of Pivotal, basically just wanted to own the entire market, and so no one wanted to collaborate with them. And now I don't know if that's the case, but it's sort of like that mystery has to be solved, right? Because repeatedly they're basically like, there was no way this thing could have succeeded. It had to be like a random Rube Goldberg chain of events that caused this stuff to work. And so like, for example, like as we were joking, like Amazon only shows up as like a drone shot, like that character
at the end,
never never. And then
never,
you know, to kind of cap it off, like, so I was writing up a, I don't know if it's a blog post or an article, but whatever. My friend Rita here in VMware Tanzuland was asking me to cover the recent CNCF 2021 annual survey, which is fascinating. I don't know if y'all know this, but they have the raw data in various states of usefulness available. But you go look at it, and for both the Kubernetes, when they asked the 2,500 or so respondents this year, what Kubernetes distro you use, and what public cloud Kubernetes thing you use, like Amazon far and away is the leader in both of those categories, right? And so it's sort of like, but how did the corner of a Amazon building drone shot character become the market leader here, right? So there's almost this, and hopefully there'll be a part 3 and 4, which will be like, what can we learn from this, right? Like that would be that's
what we want, right?
a great retrospective. And so like kind of closing it out, right? And what I mean by the politeness is like, I think there was as good a coverage as you'll ever get in a contemporary time span. And by the time it's like 30 years out, it's not like there's a bunch of files in a presidential library. No one's going to give a crap 30 or 40 years out, right? But like, you know, you get the closest thing possible of like, man, we couldn't get Google to do anything, right? Like there is this there's a lot of good internal view into how do we have a company make a large strategic decision that at the time seems not important, right? Like,
right. But I do think to your, you know, where it kind of gets, I guess if there's any controversy in this, there's one line in there, and I can't remember the name of the person, but the kind of the executive running it. And I think most of the first episode is about this kind of team in Google, a little bit of like Band of Brothers, this team in Google, scrappy team putting it together, and that they feel like it needs to be open source. So then it's sort of portrayed as that group of people fighting the good fight within Google to make sure that it's going to be open source. And and then the executive says it here, and he says something is like, you know, they were worried if they didn't make it open source soon, that they would lose out of the control if they waited too long. And I think that's sort of like, they could kind of call that out explicitly. I think Google got to the point of like, hey, if we don't put out something that's open source that we can, you know, if you will, rally a community behind, we're going to be completely out of it. So implicit in that is like, you know, this is this idea of like, then you kind of hear later in the second part about, well, it wasn't a zero-sum game. And I think I'm just going to speak for Docker here. It's like, well, it is a zero-sum game if Docker at the time is really trying to make all of their money on Docker Swarm. Like that was sort of the idea going forward. So for them, it is zero-sum. If you sort of cut their knees out and you don't have some other way to be funded, you know, ultimately Docker, I know it still exists, and that sort of, they call that at the end.
But it's a different company. Yeah,
it's a totally different company. So, you know, so for Docker, and, you know, you maybe speak to Pivotal a little bit if you want, Cote, but it kind of is like our business really rides on this. So it isn't like, hey, you know, we don't have a great way to make money going forward if you completely take out the orchestration and engine.
Yeah,
and in retrospect, just to kind of clean this up at the end, was if you look back on it, when they show Kubernetes being launched at DockerCon, right? That was sort of the end of that Docker company, right? As it existed. And which I think was like, when you're kind of watching it in retrospect, you're like, wow, that was an important moment. That's sort of like when Swarm died and Kubernetes took over. And I don't know if people thought of that at that moment, but they said that's, and even kind of allude to, that's when the quote unquote cloud wars started, which I think is interesting in retrospect.
Well, all the conversations at the time were about how Docker was going to be the next VMware. And when you talk about somebody being the next VMware, you got to point out there are other virtualization platforms, but none of them control the market, right? You like, nobody's like, oh, you know, Hyper-V or Citrix or, you know, Proxmox or whatever. They're not like the standard. And so Docker was seen as, you know, going for that brass ring or whatever. And, you know, Google didn't want that, right? They, you know, they wanted to stop that, but that's what's missing from the documentary is any commentary from anybody else. It's, like maybe you could find some Docker person who's like, in retrospect, that's what we were trying and they stopped us. Or
Yeah.
the Mesos several times they're like, Mesos had several, massively large customers doing tens of thousands of nodes. And, never any comment about from the Mesos guy saying like, well, they took our lunch. Yeah.
Well, the key interview that I really felt was missing because they sort of portray the person. I don't remember the name, but they say like we presented to this executive groups in Google, but they're always faceless. Like they don't interview that person.
I can't
and
say
they never go
end,
past Eric Brewer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
at the
CTO,
end, though,
right?
they just
Or
kind of
whatever.
say, and we were given the green light, but it's just sort of like, well, why not ask the person that like gave the green, like, well, what changed their mind, right? What was the reason? And I think the reason is what they kind of say there. It's like, hey, if we don't do it now, we're going to lose control. But it would be interesting if the executive in charge agreed. It was like, yeah, we felt like we had to do it because if we were to have any type of control, and if we want this to drive adoptions of GKE, which is stated in the documentary, then we had to say yes, because that would sort of like link it all together. But they just sort of leave that off to the side, like, and suddenly they said yes. And you're not told exactly why.
Yeah. I want the episode 3 where they're like, and 5 years later, here's commentary from, the Docker people who, didn't become a billion, didn't sell for $1 billion. Here's Mesos who didn't sell for $1 billion. Here's, the Tupperware guy. And, it's,
well, I have to assume they declined. I mean, I guess I don't know. They didn't say at the end.
I don't know.
I would assume they
maybe in episode 3 you get the drone shot like keeps going,
zooms
and
in,
lands down in the parking lot, and the Amazon guy's
I'm
like,
here for it.
We
I'm
own
ready,
it all.
Well, they don't even need the high production. I think you could just get a group of people on Docker. They could do a podcast, do it here, do it somewhere else, just like live stream a YouTube conversation, be like, well, here's what we were thinking, right? And that would be great to hear that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as we're talking through this, I mean, it really fills out the engineering. I mean, it's mostly all engineers. It fills out the engineer perspective. Sorry for those who are certified engineers, the software developers perspective, but it's kind of the story on its own in that area. Which
now that part comes through is like, I think, very authentic. It's like you tell the people working on Kubernetes truly love it, super passionate about the technology.
Yeah.
I think they're coming to it from like, this was the best way to solve it. They talk a lot about collaborating with the Borg team that's down in California, and then having the team in Seattle. And like you really get like that perspective, I think, is good because you really kind of see, it's kind of just interesting and fun to see people like who are truly, passionate about what they're working on, and just you could see the time and effort and really love, quote unquote love, they put into it. So that part I felt was very genuine. Now I do think, when you keep having people come back and say, well, there's no zero sum game, there's definitely a business side, a business war, or certainly discussion that's right above it that is happening. And whether people want to engage in that or not, it's still happening, even if you're just working on coding it up. So it's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's the that's the next film or body of work that needs to be done. Or it doesn't have to be a film, but really, so you're right. It's sponsored or in collaboration with Google, Red Hat, and the Cloud Native Foundation, Computing Foundation, and there's probably some people from other organizations, but like notably the third Kubernetes person who works at Microsoft now. He's shown in some videos, but I don't believe he's interviewed in it. But anyhow, like the thing, let me. I don't mean this in necessarily a critical way, but what I want to know is just like, and they lay it out, and I'm repeating myself here, but it's laid out over several times in this. Is like, we were not very featureful when we launched.
Yeah.
And there were the other places that were, and they were very impressive, and they had customers. And then we won. Right? And so like, it's kind of like there needs to be some discussion. And then, I mean, according to the marketing material that I read from everyone who does something with Kubernetes, it's complicated and it needs a lot of help to be useful. So there's also that, right? And it's kind of like, and yet it is sort of like the winner, if you will. And so like, there's something missing from like how that happened. And, I'll just throw out, I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel I'm repeating myself again here, but I feel like a possible answer is, I mean, there's always some skullduggery and stuff like this. So, we'll just kind of zero that out because it probably neutralizes each other at some point. But really, there is something about the final openness of it. Like I remember at the time, and this was also occurred around like Knative until very recently. Like people outside of Google were always like, "What's the deal with this?" Right? Like it's like, is it held by them or is it not held by them? Let's go read another article about what open source is and see what Matt Assay has to say in some commentary over here. Like we'll go round and round and round about like the purity and therefore the safety of relying on open source things that are, what do they call that model? Not single source, but single vendor open source or whatever. So, that was also up in the air for a while, but maybe finally there was the sense. I mean, definitely not always once you have a foundation, but maybe there was a sense of like, it's actually open. And I guess there's almost a moment, it's in the history that we have here, where it's the moment where Red Hat comes in. And now that I'm thinking of it, I don't...
Or Microsoft.
It's actually Red Hat is the coming from Coral Labs, right?
But I mean, I'm just thinking historically, it was like it felt like Microsoft moved off of their Docker and Mesos acquisition ideas and went in on Kubernetes. To me, that was like,
yeah. See, that would be interesting, right? Like, and then, but so back to that, like, they're in the story, the narrative put together here. I would say, no pun intended, because this word is only used once in the film. The pivotal moment is when the dude from Red Hat is like, "Oh, we were actually going to ship with Mesos," and then 2 weeks before that, the Google people called us and said, I actually don't know what it is they said, right? And so like
they just said, "Do you want to participate?" And
right,
I think,
right.
Because I guess
and that would be, so this is, if you remember the hagiography, is that how you say it, of Linux, is that when IBM said they were going to invest millions of dollars in Linux, and then when Oracle said that they would run their stuff on Linux, it was like, boom, Linux wins, right? Which is also a zero-sum game, between Windows and Linux, but whatever. And so I think maybe in the narrative, what's being put together here is that once Red Hat shifted off of Mesos, and maybe this is the only reason they talk about Mesos so much, like when Red Hat shifted off of rewriting OpenShift on Mesos to Kubernetes, maybe the idea there is like, boom, now we got 2 people at this party, and so it's an open. Again, I'm kind of painfully building up my theory. It's a genuinely open and perceptually open community. So so all the people you'd want to get involved do not feel that they are going to be zero summed by it, right? So now, y'all laid out some exceptions, right?
Well, no, I was going to say, I think in the movie or in the documentary, they sort of point to creating the CNCF and using June 2015, the OSCON announcement. And that's sort of like the other part of like in the second part, it's sort of like, hey, Google acknowledges that it's still not fully open source. There's a lot of doubts. And then that's sort of like the next, if you will, plot line is like, okay, how do I create a foundation? And they show that same executive sort of like trying to, if you will, herd everyone together, create the foundation. And then they kind of, and I don't really remember, I can't remember exactly what happened, but like June 2015, they basically say it's here, it's open, it's ready. And then, they then kind of talk about within Google scaling that out. So I don't know, maybe it's like as I think back on it, I don't remember it, sort of like that just happened. And then like, oh, everything's perfect. But it's sort of, I guess that was the start of like getting it completely open source and getting it adopted. So I think that's sort of how they addressed the, like, if you will, that's the moment it quote unquote became like the community version, right? That's collectively owned by the larger, players in CNCF.
Right. And then, so anyways, I still don't have resolution, maybe even to use a therapeutic word, closure on why Kubernetes won. Like, now, I think there's another reading, another like pondering of the documentary, which is sort of offered here and there, that it just like, I don't know, it's just random, right? Like, it could have as
software's just Brownian motion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, this meeting happened and that one didn't happen, and this person had like a recital for their kid that they had to go to one day. Like, I mean, there is something like that where like Craig McLucky is like, oh, I was just happened to be sitting behind this person on a bus on the way back from a corporate retreat, and we got to talking, and so like. Maybe it's just one bus ride that happened or not happened that is why Mesos didn't take off or whatever. Just always.
But I don't know.
having
I
bus
just think
rides.
I distill it down to a much simpler answer to this. Is that once Kubernetes got some traction and it became apparent that like it's better for the major players if no new quote unquote VMware kind of market winner gets out. That's the moment where it's like, okay, what's the most popular project? Because we're all going to benefit. It's like Google, Microsoft, AWS, and a few others. We're going to benefit, at this point, if it's, if you will, a common thing we can all touch rather than risk any one company winning the monopoly. So that was for like the large players, that's good. For Mesos and for Docker, the previous incarnation of the company, that was really bad. But I think, I mean, I don't say it succinctly, but it's sort of like, well, the major players are okay if this is just sort of a free layer that we all compete on.
So that would be the other side of like, so this theory I'm rambling through here is like, well, it is a generally open community. So multiple large vendors, and I think importantly also the engineers at those vendors who want to be involved in an open thing versus a closed thing, right? I mean that is key to a lot of what goes on here, is that individual engineers and groups of engineers, their desires of what to do can drive a lot of this random bus trip stuff. And so the other side of that open community, and this is the part where less politeness would be nice, is to be like, well, sure, it was zero sum, but not for. I mean, it wasn't. What's the opposite
It wasn't
of zero
sum.
Like it one sum, like
positive sum.
Yeah, like,
positive sum game is what they say in the documentary.
And be like, sure, it was positive sum, but not for everyone. Exactly. Right? And then
positive sum for us, but not for you.
And then we need like a 5-8 minute segment on like exactly as you were saying, Brandon. Like, well. And maybe you have to have an industry analyst do this, like a third-party person. And they need to be like, well, what was going on at the time is everything Brandon just said, right? And so, like, because that would be a very instructive and make sense, is that basically the public cloud providers said, we don't want anyone to become that upper layer and control our customers. So instead, we will disrupt ourselves, essentially. And by disrupting ourselves and making this a zero sum in the sense of money you can make off of it, market, then we just remove that tactical strategy from the board.
Definitely. I mean, so I went to MesosCon, I want to say 2015. It might have been early 2016. And while I was there, Apple and Twitter and others were talking about their big deployments. But at the same time, I was hanging out with a Kubernetes, a Google product manager on Kubernetes, and we went to dinner, and he took a couple of large Mesos customers with him, with us to dinner, and he was like, "What do I have to do to get you guys to spin up some Kubernetes?" And they're like, "Well, we're worried about this and this." He's like, "Tell you what, if I assign 6 full-time Google engineers to you, what would you do?" And it's like, okay. Meanwhile, Docker has, can Docker give 10% of their workforce to this one customer? Can Mesos compete with that kind of outlay of just, we're prepared to dump, quote unquote, Google engineers on you, and for free? How do you compete with that? And I was in another conversation with a guy from Apple. He's like, yeah, we're trying to hire away 2 of the core engineers off of Mesos. And it's like, how can these little startups compete in that kind of Shark Tank of competition, where you have large customers and large competitors who are not directly funded on the same revenues you are? It's just not tenable. I mean, I felt bad for Docker and Mesos.
I think obviously we need to be involved as, what do they call it, story ideas based on a story from. But I think just to add a last thing is the other missing characters are the customers, and that would also
they were missing for a long time.
that would be a good like ongoing. They actually bring up the Pokemon Go people, so there is that customer. I correct myself here. But that would be for parts 3 and 4. We could call it Kubernetes : the business, or giving them the business. I think maybe they shouldn't consult with us about the story, but that would be the next thing that I would want pulled in, is like let's hear the ongoing customer perspective of, like, because again they set this up very well, of like there were these other things that were more featureful that were already running, and they zero summed, right? And so it would be
to zero their sum.
And it would be great to hear from like customers who are like, oh yeah, here's what happened, right? Like here's why that happened. So we'll see. I look forward to parts 3 and 4. We could do some consulting if needed.
All right, good. Thanks, Cote, for
What's
pulling
up
that
with
in.
my camera?
Appreciate it. Where's the time? What is it? 50, 55. All right.
Oh man, every now and then my phone tells me, like in some native pop-up window, that I have some voicemail, and I just want to tell it to like shut the fuck up. Like,
Your video's frozen, Kote.
oh yeah, I know. I gotta do something.
Okay.
All right, everyone. When you finish listening to this podcast, go listen to our friends at Postlight. They've got Paul Ford and Rich. They've got a great podcast. They want you to listen to it. It has a lot of fun stuff, a lot of nonsense too. So you guys will all enjoy it. Check it out.
Huh.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Cote. I think the one thing, you still there, Cote? Or are you just?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay,
Just
my
my video.
and I don't
doesn't
know if
work.
you want to do it out of the break, but like the one part at the very end, I thought was good because I really thought of you. Is when it's the Docker engineer says something like, what's really hasn't been figured out is the user experience or the developer experience.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working on, which is obviously a setup for the new Docker. But I still think that's sort of like, if there was going to be a trilogy, that would be the rise of Docker, like Docker cracking the code on the developer experience of Kubernetes, and then sort of rising from the ashes and like kind of becoming, I don't know, more relevant. So I don't know. I just thought of like, our conversations, and certainly the pivotal, and a little bit of pivotal in there, same kind of thing. It's like that, like, I don't know, just to use a Star Wars, or maybe it's like a Dune metaphor. I don't know, whatever you want. Like there's another chapter to be fought, that's still kind of happening.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I keep saying, it's just like, you got, and it's also like, it's confused, like disruption theory at the end of it. I don't know. They need to do some more of this movie stuff to fill in the holes, because it's a great start.
Yeah, I'd like it if they took that AWS drone shot and just every now and then reverse the angle and it goes the other direction.
I love the drone shots. You know what? I just learned.
It was like 8 times the same cut. And no
like
comment from anybody on AWS.
Just drone shot was great. The Raleigh drone shot was great. Out of the Seattle one, I felt like it really. I mean, I was like, did they actually shoot them themselves, or can you like license a drone shot? Like, there's just like
totally license the drone shot.
You just go to like some website. You're like, I want 3 minutes of Seattle, and I want
You go to. Too bad that we don't do ads for them, but I use them if you use storyblocks.com.
Okay, I was like, gosh, this is some good. I just like, I want to put drone shots. Coach, you need to work drone shots into your videos. I don't know why, I don't know how, but just I want to see it.
Drone shots of Amsterdam.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be
awesome.
back on the camera, Cote, or is it off for the rest? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I think I'd have to dump
all right.
and rejoin.
No, that's fine. Let's.
I don't really know what the deal.
We can
is
finish
here.
out here. Then it's weird now suddenly to not see you.
I can try one thing. Let me try switching to a different camera. Wow.
Oh, don't mess. Oh, there you go.
And then maybe switch back. There we go.
Hey.
All right, you're back, baby. You're back.
Weird. Anyhow, great film. Check it out.
Okay. All right. Do a pickup. Give me a clean
my
pickup.
review. All right. No more ads, right? Okay. Postlight.
Done
They're
now.
good stuff.
Done on ads. I got basically 15 minutes. So what do you want to do? One more topic and wrap, or whatever. What do you want to do?
Speaking of Postlight, Paul Ford over there had a write-up of interesting internet videos on the internet, and kind of critiquing ones, what makes them interesting or not. I have to admit, I didn't read or I didn't watch any of the videos, but I had it queued up in my mind to go check that out, to go do them. And this is a good chance for me to do an ad. You know, I'm always trying to do more video stuff, as I've mentioned many times. And I thought I have a new theory of how to not procrastinate and focus on work. Is I've been doing a little live streaming while I type things. I mean, it's absurd, but like, you know, whatever. At least I'm not licking a microphone. And it's good. It helps keep me focused if I know that I'm kind of like being watched, editing my text and everything. But I do this on my own. Well, I've done some of it on my Tanzu Talk streaming, but I don't think I should do that because that doesn't seem normal.
So just to Twitch, you're just like
No,
with no audience.
No,
just
I did.
typing
I
away?
did. Hold on. I did some. You know me, Matt Ray. I'm very strategic. I did some extensive strategic research, which is about 5 minutes of Google searching, and I tried to figure out like what YouTube versus Twitch.
Okay.
What's the deal? And I read two different sources that I have no way of vetting, but they both said the same thing, which either means they were copying one another. But it makes sense. They were saying, so Twitch, obviously great for gamers, so already not good for me. But also Twitch is just like full of people. Like, you know, it's just like saturated.
It is.
However, it does have a smaller TAM, as we would say, a smaller amount of people than YouTube. YouTube both has many more people, namely everyone, and also streaming is not as popular in YouTube as it is in Twitch. So if you're a new streamer, you have a better chance in YouTube to sort of like collect popularity because there's less people to compete with. Classic. It's not necessarily skating to where the puck's going. It's saying fuck this and getting completely off of the rink, and just like going to where there's space.
I'm gonna buy a hockey team.
So that's what I started using my own private YouTube to do some streaming at. It's fun stuff. And
Okay.
I don't know, but I have been looking up. I think I did finally find some of the business to business, the B2B TikTok people out there. There's this one guy who I think he must be Austrian because he sounds like Schwarzenegger, but he does these little videos about an ex-McKinsey management consultant. There's one, I should find it. He defines what tops down means. If people say you need to have a more tops down approach. And the definition is that you need to talk about outcomes, basically, you know, the benefits that you get. But I finally found them, B2B TikTok. Maybe that's a pre-recommendation. Anyhow, do we have any bureaucracy to go over this week, Brandon?
Yeah, we do. We've got a couple things here. So first, I want to thank David for writing in. I sent him some stickers over in the UK. And also wanted to just give a quick shout out to Jason, who he didn't want stickers. He just wrote us a really nice note about he enjoys the show and it helped give him some exposure to DevRel. And he's on just taking a new job around dev relations. So it's just fun to hear that kind of stuff. So yeah, so if you ever want stickers, just email me at your postal address at stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. And if you just want to like write us in and tell us something good, I like that too. You can send us questions at softwaredefinedtalk.com, comments, whatever you want to say. And then also wanted to pull a couple things out of the Slack this week. Ryan recommends Invasion. That's on Apple TV. So I watched a little bit one episode last night. I liked it. So yeah, so if you're living a default lifestyle and you've already just subscribed to Apple TV because you bought everything else, like, yeah, check out Invasion. It seems pretty good. And then finally, following up for last week. So I'm about to play. Brian sent in what he believes is the correct pronunciation of the Dutch word for cozy. So I'm going to play it here in just a second. I guess, Cote, you're going to have to be the judge of this is the correct sound. So here it is. What'd you think? Did you hear it? Was it good?
I got to turn it up more.
Just a little bit more?
Yeah.
How about now?
One more time. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
It's pretty good. All right. So I wasn't sure. It doesn't seem like he was Dutch, but I was like, okay, seems like a good pronunciation. So
yeah, good job on the G there.
If you have any other words you like to hear us play,
don't.
Send them to Brandon.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't think we want that kind of people. Maybe we do. I don't know. Maybe we do. And then finally, last, but certainly not least, we're going to maybe do some live meetups in person as maybe COVID sort of gets a little bit safer for us, or maybe we'll do some virtual ones. So if you are interested in attending any of it, I will put a link here to basically fill out a quick form and basically give us your contact information. and I'll put you on the list for future meetups, whether that be a virtual kind of thing, or maybe as we do some of the conferences. I think Cote's going to be at some conferences. I may be at some conferences. We'll try to do some meetups here. And to be clear here, there's no need to Johnny Legion yourself. You're not getting anything. So like if you don't want to be invited, just don't register. Like registering gets you nothing. You know, like after you register, you're just going to get a form that says thank you. So no Johnny Legions. Just don't do it. You don't have to do it. Just don't fill it out. Like I'm actually spending more time telling people not to fill it out that don't want stuff. But if you do want to be notified about things, let me know, and or maybe I'll send you an email about things we could do together if you are so inclined. So fill out the sign up form if you want, and if you don't, that's good too. Just don't sign up any Johnny Legions. You're all getting deleted. Everyone's getting deleted, and you're not getting anything. So don't think you're fooling us.
No Johnnies allowed.
That's right.
There you go. There's a secret toilet reference, Matt Ray, just for you. Well, there's a lot of conferences coming up. I want to highlight just a couple. One, we have our .NET Beyond conference. There's a new person on my team. Well, she's not new anymore. Layla, she does .NET stuff up there in London. But it's all online and free. And also, I think, in Twitch. It's March 30th and 31st. If you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/344, you can find that details out. There's also DevOps Days Austin, May 4th and 5th. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be there giving a talk. They invited me to, but they haven't sent me a formal acceptance, but they said that I would be accepted. So now it's on record. Better make it happen.
Wait, if I say something in a podcast, that goes on the record?
Only this podcast, Matt Ray. That's why we're valuable, because we make the truth happen. And also, we've announced our Spring One Platform Conference is going to be in San Francisco. Get your calendars ready, December 6th to 8th. Quite some time in the future. I think my mom's birthday is in there sometime. But anyhow, with that, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this week?
All right, two pretty simple recommendations here. I think maybe I'm probably one of the last people. I've not been using a clipboard manager, but I've been told many times it would increase my productivity and I should do it. And I finally did it. So I installed PasteBot, which is, you had to pay like $12 for it. I think it's pretty good. I like it. I do think it is. Made myself a little bit more productive, but I'm looking for, if people think and this is for Mac OS, if there are other ones that they think are better. I don't want like the full on, replacement for like the command line launcher. I just want something that just does, if you will, the clipboard management. So I like it. PasteBot's the one I'm using, but if people know of any other ones, send me an email or go into Slack and recommend it. One, I'll try it out. And also this other little productivity tip I ran across, it's very simple, is you can speed up how fast your mouse tracks in Mac OS. It's just a small little command line tweak. So you can go a lot faster than the upper bound that they let you do in the UI. So there, I read something about like it can make you just a lot more efficient in moving around your windows. So I don't know. I still use a mouse. I think that's maybe controversial. I know a lot of people like trackpads, but if you're looking for some simple tweaks, make your mouse faster. I think it's super easy, and it does make you a little bit faster getting around your desktop.
Or hopefully it applies to trackballs too. That's what I want to know.
Hopefully.
How about yourself, Matt Ray? What do you have to recommend?
Well, my recommendation is a classic, the documentary Hands on a Hard Body. I don't know if if we've talked about that on the show before. I'm sure we've referenced it, but I rewatched it this last week with my 14-year-old daughter, and strangely, it's available on MailChimp's site. They've got a series of documentaries that they make freely available. Because I was like, it'll be on Prime or Netflix or something, and it wasn't, but it was there. The whole movie, no commercials or anything. And they also had a kind of a making of documentary that had some interesting stuff. But this is a classic quintessential documentary. It does not have the same production quality as the Kubernetes documentary. Maybe if they had a little more of that CNCF money, they might have done better. But apparently it was made for about $15K. But it made that back in spades. It's a great documentary about this contest in Longview, Texas, where you stand and keep your hand on the car, and the last person standing wins the car. But it's full of Texas characters, and my daughter was shocked to believe that these were real people. And I was like, clearly, we need to get you back to meet your relatives.
Yeah. That movie is man. I might go watch that. That movie is
exactly
magical.
It's
magical. So many characters.
So many characters. And everything.
And what a surprise ending. You never see that coming. But yeah.
It lands the ending. It's a great documentary.
What's the name of the guy who's like, I'll just eat a Snickers bar if I'm hungry? And then
Yep.
his friends are like, I don't think he's doing so well. He's eating like 30 Snickers bars.
Yeah. That's what I stand here all day. Anyway, it's a great movie. So go watch that, and next week I'll have a follow-up recommendation.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, so I, first of all, follow up for you, Brandon, is I use an app called Pasty, perhaps tragically named if you're into burlesque or whatever. But it's cross-platform, blah, blah, blah. I forget what Pastebot does, but it's also part of the Set app family of things, I think. So, you can have it in your monthly $3 charge. But I like it a lot. You know why I started using it is because I wanted to like clear out formatting. And man, it's great for that. But also the holding. Now, I'll put a link to B2B TikTok so you can see tops down communication if you're really interested. But my recommendation is I was doing one of my little videos to talk about this again, and I made a Max Headroom reference. Oh, I was trying some pizza, and I said it reminds me of a Max Headroom phrase. And so I really wanted to include this video, so I had to go search. I don't know if y'all ever watched the TV show, but it's really hard to find it, I think on DVD or something. But I did manage to find the quote, which if you want to go see my daughter and I's review of Dr. Oetker's Big Americans pulled chicken barbecue pizza, you can see Max pop up in there. But what I discovered, or I should say remembered, is that now I don't know why they call this site Daily Motion, because I think what it means is daily pirate videos. Because you can basically go and find anything you want on Daily Motion if you know how to search for like Max Headroom S1 E2, right? And I remember I watched a lot of Night Court on there as well. They probably have, and I might have I got the Wooster and Jeeves stuff from YouTube. But really, if you've never seen the Max Headroom TV show or you vaguely remember it, it's fantastic. I mean, some of it is just like eye rolling and 80s junk. But it really is like it's like as if they had gone and bought the leftover set for Blade Runner and some trench coats and then just like filmed. The whole premise is like, what if TV was like the Facebook of the future? And so TV was the most important thing. And that's the direction things had gone instead of the internet. And then, of course, there's Max Headroom in it, which is always a delight. So check that out. Well, as always, this has been Software Defined Talk. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, we haven't really mentioned that as much as we usually do. You can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/344 and learn what tops-down communication is, things like that. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Good job. Good job coming in on time. I appreciate that. So, all right. I think we're good. I'm going to have to run. Anything else we want to say? Thanks to all the people hanging in watching the stream. Good chatting today. Always like to see a lively chat during the stream. It makes me feel good. This is my only opportunity to do any Twitch streaming, Kote, so I don't get the juice that you do when you're doing it. Or Matt.
You don't get the 4 live viewers.
I don't, but we appreciate it. All right, streamers. We'll thanks again. We'll see you next week.
All right, I'm gonna go do an analysis. Is that how you would say it, Matt Ray? Instead of analysis.